is Jennifer Salpaugh, and I am the Outreach Youth Advocate for the Haven of RCS. Teen dating violence is violence between teenagers who have been dating and up to 4 months after they have broken up. Now, Florida state law says the 4 months is because there's so much stalking between teenagers, they had to extend it up to 4 months afterwards. So it is also currently as of 2012, a felony for teens who are dating to be violent with one another. So if the police are called and they come, they will be treated as though they were called to a domestic violence scene. And one person, if marks are left on somebody, one person will be arrested, the other will be sent to counseling. It will be just as though they came to a house with a husband and wife. They had to do that because there were too many people getting seriously injured and killed during teen dating violence. Now, there are different types of violence, and I just wanted to expand on the different types, because sometimes we think of violence and we only think of hitting, but there's much more to that. There is hitting. There's physical violence, which is hitting, but it's not just hitting. It's kicking, it's pushing, tripping, biting, pinching, burning with a cigarette, hair pulling, choking, which is strangling, slapping, dragging, just grabbing the back of your hoodie and pulling, that would be strangling, or grabbing your arm and yanking you. Any of those things are physical violence. Verbal violence, name calling, humiliating you in front of your friends, teasing you when you don't think it's funny, spreading rumors about you that aren't true, telling secrets that you told them in private, putting you down, cussing at you, calling you names you don't want to be called. Let's say you came home from school today and you opened the door and it was smashed to pieces. Now, nobody touched you, nobody said anything to you, but that would affect you, right? That's mental violence. So damaging any of your property, isolating you from friends and family, telling you that they don't like your friends because of whatever reason, and trying to get you not to hang out with them. Always checking your cell phone. If the first thing that your boyfriend or girlfriend does when they sit down next to you is grab your cell phone and look through it to see who you've talked to and who you've texted, that's a red flag. That's not okay. Your cell phone is very personal to you, and it's your own property. It's something that if somebody wants to look at, they need to ask you permission. And if they want to know who that you've talked to, they can just ask you. Okay, checking your computer to see who you've talked to, getting on your Facebook page. If they're on your Facebook page, they may, if they're angry with you, they may post nasty messages on your Facebook page, or act like they are you and say nasty things to your friends to upset you. Spying on you wherever you go, going through your things without permission. And if they find any old photos of maybe guys or old letters, they may make you tear them up or throw them away. Any mementos or car or clothes, or even damage your car, if they get angry with you. All those things are mental violence. Emotional violence is any verbal or mental violence that goes on for a long period of time. For instance, if I came home from school and my dad had a really bad day and I said something about a car because I don't know anything about it, and he calls me stupid, I might think, well, he had a really bad day and he never called me that again. But if my dad called me stupid every single day for a year, that's different. Now I'm going to start to think I am stupid. That's emotional violence. Sexual violence isn't just rape. It's unwanted sexual touching, treating you like a sex object, calling you sexually degrading names, telling friends that they've done things with you that they haven't, or even if they have, spreading it around everywhere when you don't want it to be spread around. Continued sexual advances after being told no. And guys and girls, both, if you ask someone if they would like to go that far and the person says no, and you say, oh come on, but you're so beautiful, and you still say no and you keep on, that's not okay. That's manipulation. The first time a person says no, you need to stop. Financial violence. Now, teens may not see this as much, but sometimes they do. They may take your money. Let's say you go to the bathroom at your house and you come back and you take your girlfriend home and you go to get something at McDonald's and you notice that, wow, I know I had $10 in here, but she had taken it. And so you call her and you say, did you take $10 out of my wallet? Oh yeah, I meant to tell you that, she says. No, that's not okay. You can't just take each other's money without asking. Expecting the other person to pay for everything. In fact, it could even be just, I have a story of a girl who, she worked and her boyfriend worked, but he lived at home with his mom, and she went to school, and every time they went out, he made her pay. So he asked her out to the movies. She said yes. He picked her up. They're driving to the movies and he looks at her and says, you're paying, right? She said, no. And he said, well, do you want me to go? And she said, yes. He said, well, then you're paying. So she ended up paying. She's not with him anymore. But that's just an example of financial violence. Manipulating one for their money. Now, some people think that this type of abuse, all these types of abuse, are because, especially hitting, physical, are because they get angry and they can't control themselves. That's not true. If it was anger that caused abuse, every time anybody ever got angry, they would be hitting somebody or abusive. And that's just not true. I can be angry and not be abusive. So anger doesn't cause abuse. The cause of abuse is the need for power and control over somebody else. And I put the wheel of power and control in dating for teenagers on a slide. And it talks about all the different ways that an abusive person may manipulate their victim in order to get them to have control, power and control over them. 80% of abusive people grew up in homes where they witnessed domestic violence. And that is because when you see it happening, when you're at the age of 2, you start to imitate your same-sex parent. So if little Johnny sees his dad get angry and hit mommy, he's going to learn that when you get angry, you should hit a girl. Now little Sally, when she's his sister, and she sees mommy get hit and continue to stay and not hit back or not do anything about it, then that's how she's going to react as well when little Johnny hits her. Now, parents are your first role models, and we see them up until we go to school, which is about 4 years, 5 years. So at the age of 2, that's a couple of years that'll get ingrained in your head about how a little boy should act, how a little girl should act. So they don't really learn that it's wrong until they go to school and the teacher says, no hitting in school. And then it's up to the abuser. Are they going to work towards changing that behavior, or are they going to just continue to do what comes naturally to them? Well, sometimes it's kind of hard depending on how much abuse is at home, because if they go back to the house and they still see abuse, that reinforces it. But I'm not saying that there's no hope. There are some abusive people that have stopped abusing. 1 in 3 teens know a friend who has been punched, kicked, slapped, or choked. Nearly 1 in 5 teen girls who have been in a relationship said a boyfriend has threatened violence or self-harm when faced with a breakup. Now, this is a hard situation, because if you say I'm breaking up and they say I'll kill myself if you do because you mean everything to me, you may feel that you don't want to be responsible for a death. Okay, I'm going to tell you that like 99.9% of the time it's a manipulation tactic. But if you're worried, there are some people that do have some mental health issues and may actually do it. If you're worried about that, on your way out, tell their parents that they threatened to kill themselves so the parents can take action. If you need to, call 911 and let them know that somebody said they're going to kill themselves. Then you've covered all the bases and you can still leave. You know, you don't have to stay. And if something happens, you know, it's not on you. It's not you. You don't make him do anything or her do anything. It's their choice. 13% of teenage girls who have been in a relationship report being physically hurt or hit. 1 in 4 teenage girls who have been in relationships reveal they have been pressured to perform oral sex or engage in intercourse. That's too high. That's 25% of girls. So when they say no, stop. More than 1 in 4, 26% of teenage girls in a relationship report enduring repeated verbal abuse. So 1 in 4 teenage girls in a class will be in an abusive relationship verbally. That's way too many. The first thing you usually see is jealousy. Jealousy is not a sign of love. Jealousy is a way a person can control another person. And it's a way to get you to not be around and talk to certain people and isolate you from people. Because if they can get you isolated, then if they do stuff to you, you have no one to tell or talk to, and they can do whatever they want. If there's quick involvement, let's say you've gone out for 1 week and they say, I love you, and maybe after a month they would say, I'd love to marry you. That's a little quick. And abusive people tend to do that. It may feel like they're sweeping you off your feet. Because in the very beginning, you can't go out and say, oh, they're an abuser, they're an abuser, they're an abuser, because you just can't do that. You don't know. It's not until you've been with the person for a while, until they feel like you're not going to leave them. So in the beginning, you're going to be treated like gold. It's not until they feel like you're going to stay, and then they'll slowly come on with some abusive things, like they may say, oh, you're so stupid. And I might think, wait, did he just call me stupid? But oh, he was laughing. He didn't mean that. And then 3 months later, he's going, hey, stupid, get over here. And now it's my nickname. So it progresses. That's why it's so hard for us to see when we're in it. Pay attention. Meet his family, her family. See how they treat their family. See how they treat their mom. See how they treat their siblings. If they're abusive towards them, that's a red flag. If they blame everybody else for things that go wrong in their life and never take responsibility for anything that they do, that's another red flag. If he's ever or she's ever hurt any animals or children or threatened to, that's a red flag as well. Okay, if you're ever in an argument and they hold you in the room against your will and they won't let you go until you talk about it, or you work through it, or just they're keeping you there, that's abuse as well. And if they have for males abusing females, if they have the idea in their head that men are superior to women, that's something that they have been taught over the years, and they may feel like they have the right to tell you what to do. Okay, it's the male superiority complex. Now, I'm not saying that all abusers are males, because they are not. There are many female abusers out there, and I want you to know that the girls in middle school and especially high school are becoming more and more aggressive. And you need to watch out for these signs as well. It's very important. If you feel like, oh, yeah, well, he pushed me down, but I don't want to leave him. He needs me. That is called the rescue complex. That is where you feel like you can change him or you can change her, that you can be there for them. If I just loved him enough, if I just did whatever enough, they would change. And that's just not going to happen, because you can't change another person. They have to want to change. First, they have to be alone, and then they have to see there's a problem. Then they have to be motivated to change, and then they have to get help. So it takes a lot. Maybe you still love the person. That may be why you don't want to leave. Maybe you grew up in a violent home and you think that's what equals love. Maybe you're too embarrassed, or you blame yourself, because often the abuser will say, why did you make me do that to you? If you just wouldn't have said that, I wouldn't have had to hit you. If you don't have any friends, if he's isolated you or she's isolated you enough that you don't have any friends to talk to, you won't feel like you have enough support. But the number one reason I would say is fear. If you leave me, I will kill you and your family. I've heard that one from abused teenagers. And that was just that one sentence is enough for her to stay. And not wanting to be alone. Now, if you want to get out of an abusive relationship, I'm not saying it's easy, but when you're away from the abusive person, you can break up with them. And I know it sounds cold, but you could text them, you could break up over the phone. I wouldn't want to be talking to the person though, because if they're good at manipulating you, they may do that over the phone. You could email them, write them a letter over their Facebook page. If you feel like you have to do it face to face, then go with a group of friends to an open public area like McDonald's. Have your friends sit over there and you sit here with that person and break up with them. I would never, ever do it by yourself alone, because that is the most dangerous time, because you're basically saying, hey, listen, I'm taking all your power and control away from you. And if you think you're walking away, you're not, because they won't let that happen. They manipulate as much as they can to get you to stay. So if they've been abusive to you, they've lost the right to the face-to-face breakup. Don't ever meet them if you've broken up or if you're breaking up alone, ever. Always have a safety plan. Tell your parents where you are. If they've been abusive, keep a journal of every single thing that they've done, when and what happened. If you need to tell the police, you can get an injunction as a teenager. Just have one parent sign for you. Avoid being alone. Try to always be with friends. Change your routines. If you walk to school a certain way every day, take a different way. Because he or she may know that you always walk that way, and they may try to, contact you that way. Tell the school resource officer. They know how to do injunctions. And don't go anywhere you think that he or she may be. If you have a friend who's in a relationship like this, do not go in and talk bad about their abuser. And I know if you're real close to that friend, it's hard not to do, because you're very protective of that friend. But if you go in and you start talking trash about the abuser, they're going to put up a wall and just not hear you anymore, because they still care about that abuser. The best thing for you to do is just express your concern and actively listen to them. Let them make their own decisions. If they decide to stay, say, okay, I support you with that, but just let you know I'm always here if you need to come to me. Try to get them to talk to an adult about it. Try to help them clarify their feelings. Let them know that they can't stop the abuse and that it won't stop. And I think the number one thing to let them know is it's not their fault, because too often they think it's their fault. And don't judge them. They've been judged enough. And just remember, love should never hurt. No one deserves to be abused.